Okay, call the Health Services Committee meeting to order. Can I have approval of the minutes from the last meeting? Supervisor Bruno, Supervisor Runyon, second. All in favor? Privilege of the floor. Does anybody have anything they'd like to discuss before we start? Seeing none, we'll go right into Mr. Bob here.
Okay.
We have one thing on the agenda and that's it.
Yes, actually a couple items here, but they're related. So, good morning, everyone. This resolution request that I'm bringing forward relates to transferring some funds in order to be able to pay for court-ordered CPL 730 competency examination and restoration expenses. And I think I've been to the committee a number of times to explain what the 730 process is. This is for individuals with felony charges. If they're found to be not competent, they're sent to a state facility for a restoration process to restore their competency, and then they come back and they face their charges. But that process involves a chargeback when they're in that state facility to the county of up to $1,300 a day for those services. So it adds up very quickly, and unfortunately, this year we've just had higher numbers than we've ever seen. We've had 7 individuals so far this year that have been in restoration. So we currently have 6 that are in at the same time. So it's adding up very quickly. I'm not even sure 300,000 is the right number. I mean, I can keep coming back each month, each time I get a bill. I don't know how the board would prefer to handle it. My request today, the 300,000, that will allow me to pay bills through April.
Okay, can I have a motion to bring this to the floor? Supervisor Runyon, Supervisor Bruno. Questions? I'm sure we've got a question or two. No?
This all just comes down from the top, the state. And I mean, a doctor just comes out and says when somebody is deemed competent. Is that the way it works?
Yeah, I mean, it does seem like a conflict of interest in the sense that they go to a state facility and then it's up to the state facility to make the determination when they're ready to return.
Just seems like a never ending, I don't know, trail of money that it's gonna take to keep going with this.
Yeah, it's very good. On average, I would say it's 3 months is an average restoration, 3 to 5 months. But there are individuals who go longer, and we have one who's been there almost a year. So we have been in touch with that facility, to review that individual. They do feel they're restorable.
Do they ever cut it off?
Well, there is a process if we can, if we feel that the person's not restorable, you can go to court. It's called a Jackson hearing. You can file and have a court review it, see if they would be deemed as not restorable. In which case they would go to a civil facility and then there's no charge.
Clearly, we have no way of changing it sounds like, but it sounds like you're taking something that's not black and white, trying to make it black and white. And like anyone that I've ever met that has those kinds of, well, that struggle mentally, they struggle their whole life. And then all of a sudden, somebody's just gonna come out and say, I restored them in 3 months.
And really the restoration is there's the standard for the non-competency is whether or not they understand their charges and whether or not they can assist in their defense. Those are the 2 standards. And when you have somebody examined, you have 2 examiners, so they're a psychologist or a psychiatrist that make that determination. If they disagree, then there's a 3rd examination that gets scheduled. And then ultimately it's up to the court to hold a hearing and make a decision.
But us approving this money, there's not really a choice, right? We have to pay it.
It is mandated expense because it's court ordered.
Next,
I'll stop wasting everyone's time then.
Yeah.
What's that?
this next resolution tries to address situation.
Supervisor Wild.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What did we have budgeted for this year?
So we started off with 50,000. Very quickly, had to come back in February and added 250. So we were up to 300, but now I have to come back because even at this point, I need
But
more.
wasn't last year like 800,000 we had to spend? The Supervisor Bruno?
Thank you. So this one individual you mentioned, in almost a year, still, somebody still thinks that they're supposed to restore them. Wish it best. Boy, that's almost a year. Wonder. Thank you.
Okay. So call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Not that we had a choice.
Okay, so the next resolution then, the request for a Warren County resolution calling for reforms for determining capacity of a defendant to stand trial. In 2023, the NISAC Standing Committee on Public Health and Mental Health passed resolution calling for the enacted budget to include reforms. And so they developed a sample, or well, actually it was a copy of their resolution that was included in your original meeting materials, right? But what this was, is they were calling for it to be handled in the budget. And it wasn't addressed in the budget. So now what they're doing is looking to address it, through the legislative session this year. So they modified a sample resolution for counties to take out the enacted budget language, because it's not in the budget. It's not dealt with in the budget. It would be dealt with separately during this legislative session. So that's really the only difference. This additional sample resolution that I handed out just takes out that language, and it's substantially the same points that it's making in the various bullets there as to whereas.
Okay, can I have a motion to bring this to the floor? Supervisor Runyon, Supervisor Bruno, second. Supervisor Thomas, you have a question?
What?
You had a question?
No, I don't have a question, but
Oh.
I would like to add another resolve to this resolution, and that is that prior to the 2021 New York State budget, the state used to pay half of this cost. It used to be 50% sharing. And I would want to put a resolve in there that we go back, that the state goes back to paying at least 50% of the cost of those,
Is that added to this that we just
Right.
received?
as one of the resolves that we.
Is that something that we can do here?
So
Okay, does someone want a second? Supervisor Bruno? Okay, so do you all understand what Supervisor?
So if I can just state, so the resolution that's handed out was a resolution from NISAC. That's put in here. It's not the county resolution that's going to be passed today. We're going to pass a resolution that's similar, basically outlining that we are going to support, there are.
That this one, Ryan, that we can.
Yeah. Yeah.
They do have this resolution. This is the resolution.
So there's two pieces of legislation. One's a Senate bill and one's an Assembly bill that kind of narrow down the standards and scope of the 730 restoration process, kind of limit how long they can be in restoration. And then with Supervisor Thomas's addition, it would also ask the state to cover the 50% sharing on top of the support for these two assembly, this assembly and Senate bill. And just encourage, we would also put a resolution paragraph that would be sent to our local senator and assemblyman as well, and then the governor as well. So all of these would be sent out, so everybody would see our position.
So that's with his add-on.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Do I have
that's
a
my
second?
understanding.
I had a
That's what-
second from
that's what's
Supervisor
being
Bruno on that. Okay, Supervisor Runyon? Oh, I thought you had a question.
No, I was seconding it. If you
Oh,
needed
okay.
this, didn't
No,
you just say?
no, Supervisor Bruno seconded.
Oh,
Supervisor
okay, then you're
Thomas put it
fine.
on the floor.
You know,
Uh,
here's just a question.
okay.
Like, having Mr. Thomas's request to add to it, does that take away the percentage chance that they'll approve the existing resolution on the floor? Does that make sense?
No, it doesn't, I don't think.
Okay.
Be the same thing, just add it on that one.
You know what I'm saying, though? Like, they're saying like, all right, well, we're requesting for, what does it say here?
Limit the terms,
What's that?
to limit the terms.
Yeah, they're to limit the term, and then we're saying, and we also want you to pay half. Meaning if you had them as separate, maybe they'd say yes to one or the other, but not both, you know what I'm
Yeah, I understand
saying?
what you're saying.
So I'm just throwing that out there that we might be setting ourselves up for failure rather than having them be separate entities. We might get one or the other, but I'll go along with the quorum of the board.
I don't know, anybody have any other questions on that? Mr. Tafflin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think what we were discussing up here, the sample resolution you have before you, I believe it's going to have to be rewritten to include some of these points in it to send forward. So,
Yeah.
not sure how we do that.
Our office will be writing a sample resolution based on the request. Essentially, the request is it's by NICEAC to pass a resolution supporting this piece of legislation and supporting the reasons behind it. We can also include Supervisor Thomas's piece as well in here. I don't think it's gonna hurt our chances. I think they're just asking every county to show support so that the legislature passes the bill.
Okay.
So I don't.
That makes sense.
Okay, so call the vote,
I
Mr.
have
Riley.
I'm just a question on magnitude. Do we know what our surrounding counties are paying for their 730 requirements here?
Almost every county across the state's dealing with the same spike that we've seen. Varying degrees. I mean, just talking with Supervisor Thomas. Washington County this year, they're up to 200,000 at this point. So it's not quite the same magnitude as Warren. But certainly Saratoga, yes, very high. I was at a statewide association meeting for my statewide association last month, or earlier this month. And it was a topic of discussion, because every county is dealing.
I was just, we've thrown a lot of money from ARPA into mental health. And I'm wondering if we need to try to find some more ARPA money for this. I don't know if there's any that exists,
Yeah,
but this is,
I think we're looking at
change.
different strategies to see if there's anything we can do to impact it. We're starting to reach out to the facilities to develop regular contact. Part of this bill requires them to send us more information about how people are doing more regularly. We're also could meet with the district attorney's office, public defenders, see if there's a way that maybe some of these people could be diverted from the process.
it does appear like a conflict of interest because the people that are down there doing these evaluations are,
Benefiting.
state employees and they're benefiting off the county.
How often do they evaluate them?
Oh, they're evaluating
Like
them.
daily?
Yeah, daily, ongoing. And they are in a specific curriculum of restoration. When I mentioned the restoration process, they actually teach them about the role of the judge, the role of the district attorney, the role of the public defender. They might give them information, kind of train them on what those actual charges were that they were charged with. That's all part of the process of helping them. How to interact with your attorney.
okay, any other questions? Supervisor Thomas?
Yeah, we budgeted $25,000 a year for a lot of years, and once in a while, we went over to 25 for years. And seems like ever since the state, must be the state knew something that we didn't, because they stopped paying half of it. And all of a sudden, the costs have exploded. So the way I see it, if the state has some skin in the game here, and then, maybe they'll be more inclined to make some reforms and they could always take some of the Medicaid money that they're taking from us, and pay this bill.
Yeah, I don't disagree. But, all right, anything else? Call the question. All in favor?
Uh,
Opposed? Abstain? Okay,
That was, we just voted on the motion, now you go back and vote on.
okay. Main mo. All in favor of the main motion?
uh,
Opposed? Abstain? Okay. Thank you. All right, Rob, anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay, any privilege of the floor? Anyone have anything they'd want to bring up? Hearing none, motion to adjourn. Supervisor Bruno, Supervisor Runyon, all in favor?